All right, it looks like we are live. Welcome everyone who's joining us for this patron class from the US and Canada team at the Family Search Library. We are excited to have you here. Come on in and get settled, and we'll be starting in just a minute. The link to the handout for this presentation has been posted in the chat on the various platforms. So look there and see if you can access that. All right, we are going to start the class at the top of the hour, but as we wait for more people to join us, we wanted to show you this video from Roots Tech. Roots Tech registration is now open, and we would love to have you join us this March. We're going to show you this quick video. We hope that you will join us at Roots Tech 2025. It's going to be wonderful. November also marks the 130th anniversary of Family Search. Join us in celebrating stories of family discovery and connection. Get involved and share what you found at Family Search with this link that we will put in the chat. All right, it is 10 o'clock. Good morning. My name is Julia Anderson, and I'll be moderating today's webinar, Faith, Service, and Sacrifice, the Stories and Impact of the Mormon Battalion, presented by Jana Lee McBride. We're so glad you could join us. Before we get started, we have a couple of housekeeping items. First, this class is being live streamed on Facebook, YouTube, and X. You'll be able to see a recording of this class on the Family Search Library Facebook page or our Family Search YouTube and X channels for a limited amount of time. Jana Lee will be answering questions at the end of the webinar. Please post your questions in the chat if you're joining us on Zoom or in the comments section on Facebook as we near the end of the presentation. If you need help with a specific research problem, we encourage you to sign up to meet one-on-one with one of our research specialists in a free 20-minute virtual consultation. Go to the Family Search Library's website at familysearch.org/library and click on Research Help. The next class taught by the Family Search Library will be Find Your Ancestors in Swedish Army and Navy Records, 1682 to 1901, taught on Tuesday, November 26th at 10 o'clock a.m. Mountain Time. The registration link for that will be posted in the chat. This will be the final class taught by the United States and Canada team for 2024. For updates on future webinars in 2025, go to familysearch.org/library/webinars. We will return in January for more weekly webinars. Let me introduce the presenter for this class, Jana Lee McBride. Jana Lee holds a Bachelor of Science in Professional Studies with an Associate in Family History Research from Brigham Young University, Idaho. Jana Lee is a United States and Canada Research Specialist at the Family Search Library in Salt Lake City, Utah. She specializes in the United States Southwest region, DNA, and Latter-day Saint records. So with that, we'll turn the time over to you, Jana Lee.
Awesome. Thank you, Julia. I am so excited today to teach this class to you. This is a subject that I am extremely passionate about. So let's go ahead and begin. Okay, so the early members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints faced severe persecution after their prophet Joseph Smith was martyred in 1844, which resulted in increasing mob violence and expulsion from their homes. Their new leader, Brigham Young, led the saints in a westward exodus, beginning with their departure from Nauvoo across the frozen Mississippi River in January of 1846. From the Mississippi River to Council Bluffs, Iowa, approximately 20,000 church members stretched across the prairies in a line spanning over 400 miles. Carrying what they could in wagons or handcarts, they lived in temporary settlements and makeshift shelters. During these challenging times, the Saints received unexpected visitors. On June 26, 1846, at Mount Pisgah, Iowa, Captain James Allen arrived with orders from Colonel Stephen W. Kearny of the U.S. Army of the West. Allen was authorized to enlist 500 Mormon volunteers for a campaign to secure California in the ongoing war with Mexico. Despite a lack of trust in the U.S. government, the Saints trusted their leaders. They saw this as an opportunity to gain favor with the government, hoping it might lead to future protection and support. The Army offered wages, supplies, and provisions that could sustain the Saints on their journey west. Most importantly, they felt that joining the battalion would demonstrate their loyalty to the United States and potentially secure safer passage for their families as they continued their westward migration. So in this webinar today, we will cover the following objectives. First, we're going to discuss the history and background of the Mormon Battalion, U.S. Army of the West, and its origins. We're going to examine the impact these men had on the Southwest, review the records that they created during their journey and in later years, and learn where these records are located and how to access them. And then we're going to conclude with a case study to apply and demonstrate all that we have discussed. So let's start with the history and background of the Mormon Battalion. Okay, so the Mormon Battalion its official name is the U.S. Army of the West, which was given to them by Captain James Allen. They were a United States Army unit formed in 1846 during the Mexican-American War, composed primarily of members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It is unique in the sense that it is a U.S. military unit, and it is the only unit that's recruited entirely from a single religious community, enlisting around 500 Latter-day Saint volunteers at the request of the U.S. government. The battalion completed a grueling march of nearly 2,000 miles from Council Bluffs, Iowa to San Diego, California, becoming one of the longest military marches in U.S. history. The battalion helped build infrastructure in the Southwest, including roads and forts, which facilitated westward migration and set the path for the Southern Immigrant Trail. During the Mexican-American War in 1846, the U.S. government sought to secure California by recruiting additional forces. Recognizing the Mormon Pioneers who were preparing to migrate west as a potential resource, Colonel Stephen W. Kearny authorized Captain James Allen to enlist 500 Mormons for a battalion. This strategic decision aimed to strengthen the U.S. military presence while leveraging the Mormons as an opportunity to show loyalty, gain provisions for their journey, and potentially secure future support. The Mormon Battalion thus played a unique role in westward expansion, combining military service with hopes for community security and support. The first leg was a march from Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, which covered 200 miles and 10 different days. Not very many of them had shelter since they left everything that they could spare with their destitute families at Council Bluffs. They faced swarms of mosquitoes both day and night, miles of mud, and violent nocturnal rainstorms. Malaria began to spread, and their beloved commander, James Allen, was too sick to move forward with his battalion and had to remain at Fort Leavenworth. At Fort Leavenworth, the battalion members received tents, infantry equipment, and each man was paid a uniform allowance of $42. Many of the battalion members chose to not get uniforms and instead send the money back to Council Bluffs for their families to get to Utah. The second segment of the journey began on August 12th when the battalion left Fort Leavenworth and was soon commanded by Lieutenant A.J. Smith. His empowering desire was to get them to Santa Fe as rapidly as possible, which meant he led them hard and fast, those 900 miles down the Santa Fe Trail. The major problems that they faced were heat, the rapid pace, sickness, and a doctor who administered calomel and arsenic with the same rusty spoon for every disorder with force if necessary. At the crossing of the Arkansas River, Lieutenant Smith detached a number of women and children and sent them up the river to Pueblo in what is now Colorado. The debilitated battalion arrived at Santa Fe on October 12, 1846, an average of about 15 miles a day for 61 days. Lieutenant Colonel Philip St. George Cook took over at Santa Fe as the permanent commander of the battalion. His candid assessment of the battalion was, quote, "Everything conspired to discourage the extraordinary undertaking of marching this battalion 1,100 miles for the greater part through an unknown wilderness without road or trail and with a wagon train," end quote. Colonel Cook carefully screened the battalion and sent all the women but 5, all the children, and almost 150 of the weakest and sickest men to Fort Pueblo. These men were to come to California in the spring if still needed. The battalion left Santa Fe on October 19, 1846, on the third segment of its great march with about 350 men, 5 women, 25 wagons, and 6 cannons, attempting to cross 1,100 trackless miles in country where no wagon train had ever rolled. These were high odds against a successful journey through enemy territory, short on rations from the outset, dealing with many different Indian tribes, and led by guides who had also never traversed the route. They traveled for approximately 4 months and reached San Diego on January 29, 1847. After reaching San Diego on January 29, 1847, the Mormon Battalion fulfilled various military and civil duties in Southern California as their service was still required even though the fighting in California had mostly ended. The battalion members helped strengthen the defenses of San Diego and later Los Angeles. They built an improved infrastructure, including forts and other structures to support the U.S. military presence. They took part in civil projects to improve local communities, such as repairing roads, constructing buildings, and working on irrigation projects. These efforts contributed to the stability and development of the area. In 1847, the battalion moved to Los Angeles to serve as a garrison, maintaining peace and order in the region until their enlistment period ended. On July 16, 1847, most of the battalion members were discharged in Los Angeles. Many chose to join their families heading to Utah, while others stayed in California. Some even working in the gold fields with the California Gold Rush when it began. After discharge on July 16, 1847 in Los Angeles, Mormon Battalion veterans pursued different paths. Many embarked on a challenging 700 to 800-mile journey along the old Spanish Trail to reunite with their families in the Salt Lake Valley, arriving by fall of 1847 and early 1848. These veterans, greeted by joyful reunions, brought critical skills, livestock, and resources that strengthened the new Mormon settlement. Others stayed in California, where some mined for gold following the 1848 discovery at Sutter's Mill, contributing earnings to support families in Utah. Some settled in California, working as artisans and laborers, helping develop early Californian communities. Their contributions in both Utah and California left a lasting legacy, symbolizing resilience and dedication in the American Southwest. Now let's discuss the impact that this journey had on the Southwest. The Mormon Battalion's journey through the Southwest played a critical role in laying groundwork for future settlement and infrastructure development in a region that was relatively underdeveloped at the time. Their contribution in road building, water source development, and other practical projects significantly eased later migrations and facilitated commerce in the growing Western territories. The battalion's march from Council Bluffs, Iowa to San Diego, California required traversing challenging, largely uncharted terrain through present-day New Mexico, Arizona, and California. As they crossed these regions, they effectively created new trails and blazed portions of what became known as Cook's Wagon Trail. Under the leadership of Colonel Philip St. George Cook, the battalion cut brush, cleared obstacles, and widened paths, making them suitable for wagons and future travel. This route would become a major pathway for westward migration, particularly during the California Gold Rush. In addition to creating new paths, the battalion improved some existing routes, including trails used by Native American tribes, Spanish explorers, and Mexican traders. For example, as they moved through Arizona, they crossed portions of the Gila River Trail, which had been used by indigenous peoples and Mexican settlers for generations. The Mormon Battalion's improvement made the route more accessible for heavy wagons and safe for later travelers who could now transport supplies and people more efficiently across the harsh desert terrain. Along their route, the battalion had to navigate rivers, steep hills, and difficult passes, which required constructing makeshift bridges, road repairs, and river crossings. These physical improvements were essential for the successful movement of not only the battalion, but also subsequent migration and trade caravans. They marked and stabilized river fords, such as crossings over the San Pedro River in Arizona, which would become regular routes for American settlers moving west. Although the battalion itself was not officially responsible for detailing, surveying, their presence in these remote areas resulted in increased awareness of the Southwest geography and natural resources. Reports from Colonel Cook and others provided valuable information, which later explorers and surveyors used to refine maps and plan further development in the region. The trails and infrastructure established by the battalion helped create a foundation for surveying and settlement as the U.S. government sought to expand its control and influence the Southwest. The routes that the battalion established or improved became the groundwork for later infrastructure developments, such as the Southern Pacific Railroad and U.S. highways. The Cook Wagons Road, for instance, closely paralleled the route that would eventually be followed by the railroad and parts of the modern Interstate 8 highway. These infrastructure developments continued to open the Southwest for commercial and residential growth, following paths the Mormon Battalion initially carved through deserts and mountains. The trails and improved infrastructure had a direct impact on local economies, especially once settlers began to use these roads. The roads made trade between the southwestern U.S. California and Mexico more feasible and attracted people who sought to establish new homes, farms, and businesses. Towns and supply stations developed along these routes, and the battalion's trailblazing efforts allowed for easier military and civilian access throughout the Southwest. The battalion's journey demonstrated how a single trek could pave the way for regional development, leaving a lasting legacy in the infrastructure of the Southwest. These routes became lifelines for settlers and eventually served as the foundation for roads and railways that remain vital to the region's connectivity today. So let's discuss the records that were left behind from the Mormon Battalion. The military records that the Mormon Battalion gave us is an in-depth look of the experiences of the soldiers that served between 1846 to 1847. These records are incredibly helpful for tracing individual soldiers, confirming enlistments, and understanding how the battalion operated and moved during their service. Here's a breakdown of the key types of records that are available. Enlistment records. These records list the soldier's name, age, and place of origin, and enlistment date, confirming who served. Some even include physical descriptions, offering insight into what these soldiers looked like and where they came from. Muster rolls, like roll calls, were taken at regular intervals. They list soldiers by company and note their status, present, absent, sick, or transferred. They also reveal desertions, discharges, and deaths. Pay records detail the soldiers' earning deductions and payment dates. They highlight the financial aspects of service and confirm who served until the end or left early. Discharge papers issued in 1847 confirm the end of service, noting the date and reason, such as honorable or medical discharge. They formally mark the completion of a soldier's commitment. Medical and sick reports. These records document illnesses or injuries, noting who couldn't perform duties and why. They reveal the physical toll of service and sometimes include details about those who died. Altogether, these records paint a vivid picture of what it was like to serve in the Mormon Battalion and offer a wealth of information for everyone wanting to learn more about the soldiers and their journey. In the 1890s, the War Department transcribed military service records to simplify the review of military and medical records for pension and veterans benefits claims. These transcribed records are known as Compiled Military Service Records, or CMSRs. The National Archives holds CMSRs for volunteer soldiers from the Revolutionary War through the Philippine Insurrection. Each CMSR includes an envelope or jacket containing one or more cards. A separate card was created each time an individual's name appeared in a service record, with each card numbered on the back. The numbers on the envelope correspond to the numbered cards inside. For example, an envelope with 8 numbers indicate 8 cards with different information about the individual being researched. Service records are an essential resource for genealogists, offering a detailed insight into ancestors' military involvement and personal history. Here's how they can help. They provide verification of service. Compiled military service records confirm an ancestor's military service, making them invaluable for validating family history and applying to lineage societies. Personal details. Many records include the soldier's age, birthplace, physical description, occupation, and residence, helping to match the ancestor's identity and build their personal profile. Service dates and locations. Enlistment and discharge dates, as well as service locations, are documented in CMSRs, providing a timeline to trace the soldier's movements and life events. Unit and comrades identify the soldier's unit, can lead to other records, and even uncover connections to fellow soldiers, which may reveal family or community ties. Some service records note injuries or illnesses, giving insight into how military service may have impacted the soldier's life and health, useful for understanding family medical history. Pay records highlight the soldier's economic circumstances, showing length of service, additional duties, and any financial hardships they may have faced. And discharge records confirm when and why a soldier left service, providing clues about their life after the military and aiding in tracking post-service activities. Occasionally, CMSRs include letters, affidavits, or other personal documents that can reveal unique details about family connections, personal challenges, and the soldier's experiences. This example of a CMSR shows John Sessions. It reveals that he served as a private in Company A of the Mormon Battalion, and that he enlisted on July 16, 1846 in Council Bluffs, Iowa, and is mentioned in the company muster roll for January to February of 1847. His record also notes that he was detached from service on October 17, 1846, providing a snapshot of his timeline and movements during this period. Service records go beyond confirming military service. They piece together personal details, military experiences, and post-service life. They're an individual's tool for genealogists seeking to understand their ancestors' life and legacies. Pension records. The pension records left by members of the Mormon Battalion offer a fascinating window into their lives after service and the struggles that they faced during and after their journey. These records were created when veterans or their widows applied for government pensions, often decades after their time in the Mexican-American War. So here's what you might find in a typical pension file. You might find the veteran's pension application, Many veterans applied for pensions as the laws expanded to include the Mexican-American War soldiers. These applications often include personal accounts describing their experiences, injuries, or illnesses, offering a rare glimpse into life in the battalion. Widows' pension applications. Widows of deceased veterans could apply for pensions using marriage certificates or affidavits to prove their relationship, along with documents verifying the soldier's service. These records highlight the families left behind and their ties to the battalion. Affidavits and witness statements. Supporting affidavits from fellow soldiers, family, or community members were often required to verify claims. These statements add context, detailing events, hardships, or the physical toll of service. Physical and medical condition statements. Veterans provide evidence of service-related disabilities or illnesses, often describing long-term effects like injuries or chronic conditions. These records reveal the lasting impact of their service. Service verification documents. Veterans often needed discharge papers, enlistment records, or other documents to prove their service. These verification records are sometimes the only remaining evidence of a soldier's involvement. Financial records and pension payments. Pension files include payment amounts, dates, and adjustments reflecting government support. Payment records also provide clues about veterans or widows' residences useful for genealogical research. Pension records are more than just bureaucratic documents. They're personal stories of struggle, resilience, and recognition. They offer a wealth of information for anyone looking to understand the post-service lives of the Mormon Battalion members and their families. Pension records are packed with genealogical value, offering a wealth of personal and family details. Personal and service details include the veteran's name, age, birthplace, and service dates, locations, rank, and unit. These details confirm their identity and service history. Family information. It will list the spouse's name, marriage details, children's name, and birth dates, and information about widows or dependents. This is incredibly useful for understanding family structure and connections. Documents and places of residence and any moves that the family made. These clues can help track migration patterns and give insight into property ownership or financial status. Health and medical details describe injuries and illness, often including medical affidavits. These records reveal health conditions and long-term disabilities that may have impacted the veteran's life. Affidavits and witness statements contains testimonies from family members, friends, or neighbors, verifying the veteran's service or family relationships. These often provide personal anecdotes or additional details. Some records include accounts of the veteran's service experiences or significant life events, adding rich context to their story. They also include death information. It includes the veteran's date of death, burial location, and details about the widow's or dependent's circumstances afterwards, and financial information. Records, pension amounts, payment history, and notes on financial hardships. These details reflect the family's economic status and how they manage after the veteran's service. In one example, a single page from Harlem McBride's 57-page pension file reveals that he sought an increase in his pension due to disabilities. The document includes his pension number and states that he had lost one eye and was nearly blind, making it difficult for him to work and support his family. This type of information not only confirms service and health details, but also offers a deeply personal glimpse into the challenges that veterans and their families faced. Bounty land records tied to the Mormon Battalion are a treasure trove of historical and genealogical information. These records were created when veterans or their heirs applied for land grants as compensation for service during the Mexican-American War. Here's a breakdown of what you might find in these records. You might find bounty land warrant applications. Veterans or their heirs submitted an application to request a land warrant. These applications usually include personal and service details like enlistment and discharge dates to confirm eligibility for land grants. Proof of service. To qualify, veterans had to prove official military records such as discharge papers or muster rolls as evidence of their service in the Mormon Battalion. Affidavits and witness statements from family members, community leaders, or fellow soldiers were often included to verify the veteran's service or their family relationships or entitlement to the land, especially in cases involving widows or heirs. You might find marriage and family documentation. Widows or heirs needed to prove their relationship to the veteran. This typically required marriage certificates, birth records, or other documents that established their connection. Land warrant certificate. Once the application was approved, a certificate was issued, specifying the amount of land granted. The acreage often depended on the veteran's length of service and rank. These warrants could be used to claim land or sold to others. Assignment of land warrant, if sold. If the veteran or heir decided to sell the warrant instead of claiming land, a transfer document was created. This record details about the buyer and seller, shedding light on economic decisions and land ownership history. Patent or deed. After the claimant selected a piece of land or patent or deed, a patent or deed was issued to legally transfer ownership, completing the process. Bounty land records not only highlight the government's way of compensating veterans, but also provide unique details about the lives, relationship, and choices of the Mormon Battalion members and their families. These records are a valuable resource for understanding both their service and their post-service lives. Bounty land records are a gold mine for genealogists, especially for descendants of Mormon Battalion veterans and other early U.S. servicemen. These records go beyond confirming military service. They provide insights into family connections, settlement patterns, and even social and economic choices. So here's what's so valuable about them. Military service verification. These records confirm an ancestor's military service, offering details like enlistment dates, rank, and unit. This is especially useful for verifying lineage or applying to heritage societies. Family details. Bounty land applications often include personal information, such as the veteran's name, age, and birthplace. When filed by a widow or heir, they can also list family members and marriage details, helping to establish family connections. Residence and migration. The records often indicate where veterans or their families lived or planned to settle. If the land was sold instead of claimed, the documents can reveal migration patterns or economic decisions. Land ownership. Patents and deeds confirm where veterans or their heirs established roots. These records can lead to other local resources such as tax rolls, property records, or community histories. Economic and social context. When land warrants were sold or transferred, it often reflects financial decisions or needs. Correspondence within the record can highlight challenges that veterans or their heirs faced during the application process. Extended family and neighbors. Affidavits and witness statements from family members, fellow soldiers, or neighbors reveal social networks and community ties. Sometimes probate records included the file and lists extended family members, offering even more genealogical leads. Legacy and burial information. For deceased veterans, these records may include probate documents or burial details, shedding light on how their heirs preserved the veteran's legacy and offering clues for locating final resting places. Bounty land records are packed with valuable information. But these are my favorite records, the journals and the personal accounts. The Mormon Battalion left behind a wealth of journals, letters, and personal accounts, each providing a unique glimpse into their historic journey. These records not only shed light on the experiences of individual members, but also offer genealogists valuable details about family connections, migration, and information about their journey. Here's a closer look at these resources. The personal diaries and daily journals that many of the battalion members kept is a recording of their thoughts, their challenges, and daily activities. These entries often describe weather conditions, landscapes, interactions with indigenous tribes and Mexican civilians, and the camaraderie within their ranks. Letters home. Some members wrote letters to their families, sharing personal reflections, fears, and hopes. These letters provide an intimate look at their relationships and often include details not found in official records. Memoirs and retrospective accounts. Years after their service, some veterans wrote memoirs reflecting on their journey, key events, and the impact the experience had on their lives. These accounts often provide a broader historical perspective. The genealogical value that's found in journals and diaries is extensive. The personal and family details in these journals, the journals and letters frequently include personal details like birth dates, family relationships, and places of origin. If written by widows or heirs, they often confirm family connections or reference relatives back home, offering clues about extended family members. Personal writings trace the battalion's path through New Mexico, Arizona, California, and Utah. These details help track where ancestors temporarily stayed or settled, explaining shifts in family locations over time. Journals also reveal why some veterans remained in California or joined the gold rush. These records describe work done by battalion members, such as road building or fort construction, and often detail post-service activities like mining or labor. Such accounts provide context for ancestors' economic contribution and skills. Many accounts highlight the battalion members' faith, their connection to the Latter-day Saint community, and their loyalty to church leadership. They often mention other battalion members, reinforcing social networks that genealogists can explore. Now let's talk about newspapers. Newspaper articles from the time of the Mormon Battalion and later commemorates additional context about their journey. They often mention individual members by name. They note enlistments and achievements or include obituaries and interviews with veterans. These sources help genealogists confirm battalion involvement and add depth to family narratives. The genealogical value found in newspapers. Many of these newspaper articles about the Mormon Battalion are a treasure trove for genealogists, offering valuable historical context, personal details, and unique perspectives that can enhance family history research. These articles frequently mention the names of battalion members, particularly in reports about enlistments, promotions, achievements, or obituaries. Such mentions help genealogists confirm an ancestor's service in the battalion and provide additional biographical details like rank, hometown, or family connections. Some articles go even deeper, featuring personal stories or interviews with veterans. These accounts can uncover fascinating details about specific individuals, shedding light on their experience, contributions, and impact of their service. Okay, so now that we've discussed what records they created and left behind, how do we find these records? Let's talk about that. Thankfully, many of the records left by the Mormon Battalion have been digitized and are accessible through various resources. One of my favorite resources is the Family Search Wiki. Our wiki team has put together a wiki page that is specifically detailed for the Mormon Battalion. To begin, head to familysearch.org and click on Search at the top of the page. From the drop-down, select Research Wiki. In the search bar, you're going to type Latter-day Saint Military Records. You will find a direct link to this page in your handout for easy access. Once you're on the page, scroll to the section titled Mormon Battalion and the Mexican War. This page provides direct links to service records, pension files, bounty land records, and more. This page is packed with valuable information and direct links to important records and resources. Under the National Archives Catalog section, the Wiki team has organized the battalion by the company each member served in. All 5 companies are listed, and by clicking on a specific company, you can dive right into the details. You will see an alphabetized list of the battalion members that served in that company. Here's the best part. Next to the names of the battalion members, you will find links that take you directly to their military service records, pension records, and bounty land records, all digitized and hosted on the National Archives website. While not every battalion member has a link yet, this project is still ongoing. Many do, and it's well worth your time to go check that out. Here's what it looks like when you click on one of the links. You'll be able to view the original documents, so take the time to read each and every page carefully. Transcribing the document is a great way to ensure that you don't miss anything, and it helps you better understand what you're looking at. As you continue scrolling down the Family Search Wiki page, you'll find links that take you directly to biographies, journals, and other significant authored works related to the Mormon Battalion. These resources offer incredible insights into their experience and stories. Another fantastic resource for land record information is the Bureau of Land Management website. I put a link to this website in your handout. Here you can search for land patents and uncover additional details about them. For example, I searched for a patent for Jefferson Hunt by entering California as the state that issued it. The BLM site makes it easy to dig deeper into land history and ownership. Take a look at the column titled Ascension. You'll notice a code starting with MW, followed by some numbers. MW stands for military warrant, so this is the land record I want to explore. When I click on the military warrant, I can confirm that this is the record for the military bounty land. It shows the company that Jefferson Hunt served in with the Mormon Battalion, the total acres, the document number, and that Jefferson Hunt was issued the bounty land warrant, indicated by the W next to his name. However, it also shows that he assigned the land to Nicholas Turner and didn't keep it himself. By clicking on the Patent tab, I can view an image of the original land patent. This site also provides access to images of land surveys and tract books, giving even more detailed information about the land. Now let me show you an amazing resource that can help you find out if you're related to any members of the Mormon Battalion. Not only does it let you check for connections, but it also gives you access to a full list of all the battalion members and their records. This database is a hidden gem that not many people know about. It was shared with me by Lynn Turner, the director of the Family Search Library. To access it, go to familysearch.org, click on the Search tab at the top, and select Cemeteries. When you typically search in cemeteries on Family Search, you're looking for actual cemeteries, and you'll see a list of cemetery names with the icon shown here on the left. However, this hidden database isn't a cemetery at all. It's a special resource used at the Mormon Battalion Center in San Diego in their discovery area. To access it, type Mormon Battalion in the search bar. When it comes up, you'll notice that its icon is different from the usual cemetery icons, setting it apart as a unique tool. This database provides a list of all the members of the Mormon Battalion, and here's the fun part. If you want to see if you're related to any of them, simply click on Only Show My Relatives. This will show you a list of everyone in the Mormon Battalion that you're related to, not just direct ancestors, but cousins as well. And one of the great things about finding them on the Family Search tree is that most of their profiles have multiple sources attached. Their stories and records that they left behind are both inspiring and historically significant. so many of their descendants have taken the time to upload additional sources, giving you access to more details about their lives, including pictures, stories, and histories that you might not have known about. Another fantastic resource to check out is the Mormon Battalion Association. They have both a website and a Facebook page where you can connect with other descendants of Mormon Battalion members. The association has done extensive research on the battalion and regularly shares new findings on topics like how many people were actually in the battalion or where they traveled and what original sources they left behind. On the Mormon Battalion Association website, you'll find a list of battalion members, along with biographies for most of them. While not all members have a biography yet, the association has dedicated countless hours to researching these individuals. This makes their website a great place to uncover key information about your ancestor and their involvement in the battalion. Another awesome feature on their website is the interactive map. This map highlights key locations and historical points mentioned in the journals and other records, bringing the battalion's journey to life. On the left side of the interactive map, you'll find a detailed list of all of the points of interest. And when you click on a specific point, you'll receive a brief description on what happened at that location, and the map will zoom in to show you exactly where it is. Here's the Mormon Battalion's Facebook page. I highly recommend following it. If you want to learn more about individual battalion members, they regularly share updates on biographies, new discoveries, and insights from their ongoing research, making it a great resource for staying informed. Another fantastic resource is the Church History Library. You can access it by visiting history.churchofjesuschrist.org. From there, navigate to the biographical database and connect it to your Family Search family tree by clicking on Search My Ancestors. This will link directly to your family tree, making it easy to explore your connections. If you are directly related to someone who served in the Mormon Battalion, they'll appear in the biographical database. This tool only shows direct line ancestors, so it won't include cousins. That's why the Family Search database under cemeteries is such a fun and valuable resource. For those listed in the biographical database, you'll find photos, a timeline of their life, and access to original sources that they left behind, giving you a deeper connection to their story. Okay, now let's move on to a case study so that we can demonstrate how valuable some of these records are. This is my third great-grandfather, Shadrach Holdaway. While exploring the shared memories on his personal page in the Family Search family tree, I found a personal history of his life written by his granddaughter. As I read through this history, I came across these fascinating details. It says, quote, while in Council Bluffs, the call came for 500 men to volunteer for the war with Mexico, and Shadrach Holdaway was one of them. He filled the position of Teamster for Company C of the Mormon Battalion under Captain James Brown and Lieutenant Rosencrans. The battalion left Council Bluffs, Iowa on the 20th of July, 1846, and arrived in LA on July 16, 1847, traveling over 2,000 miles in just under 1 year. He bought a team and wagon and had made preparations to join the Saints in Utah when the news of the gold discovery was brought to Los Angeles. On his way home, he stopped for a little while at the forks of the American River near present-day Sacramento, where he did a little mining and took out about $3,000 worth of gold dust. He arrived in the valley the 24th of October, 1848, and was the first man to pay his tithing in California gold dust. I wanted to dig deeper into this family story about my third great-grandfather being the first person to pay tithing or his church donation in gold dust. To verify the story, I needed to learn more about his journey as a Mormon Battalion member and determine if the details shared were truly accurate. Here's the information from the history of Shadrach Holdaway. He served as a Teamster in Company C under Captain James Brown and Lieutenant Rosencrans. He left Council Bluffs, Iowa on July 20th, 1846, and arrived in Los Angeles, California on July 16th, 1847, at the forks of the American River. He mined around $3,000 worth of gold by October 1848. he had arrived in Salt Lake City and became the first person to pay tithing in gold dust. I began by visiting the Family Search Wiki page and navigating directly to Company C to locate his military records and verify the information that I currently have. I located him by scrolling through the alphabetically organized list, and his name shows up twice because the spelling changes throughout his records. I clicked on the link to his CMSR, which took me directly to the digital image on the National Archives website. I was able to confirm that he did indeed serve in Company C and mustered in on July 16, 1846, from Council Bluffs, Iowa. He was detached from service on June 15, 1847, by order of Captain Jefferson Hunt. Thanks to the Mormon Battalion database on FamilySearch.org that's found under cemeteries, I discovered that Captain Jefferson Hunt is actually my second cousin 7 times removed, which made this notation even more meaningful to me. The CMSR also revealed where and when Shadrach was mustered out and the date that he was last paid by the government. I found it fascinating and a little surprising that he wasn't paid for 5 months of his service. I added all of the details I pulled from the CMSR to my table so I could compare what I discovered with the information that I already had. Next, I clicked on the link to his bounty land records from the Family Search Wiki page. This record confirmed the company that he served in, his enlistment date, his term of service, and that he was honorably discharged in California on July 16, 1847. I checked the Bureau of Land Management website to find out if Shadrach kept his bounty land or assigned it to someone else. I located his military warrant patent, which provided a description of the land and showed that he assigned his patent to John Newton. When I clicked on the patent for details, I was able to confirm that this was his military warrant. It verified that he served in Company C, received 160 acres for his service, and provided the document number for the patent. Next, I clicked on the Patent Image tab and was able to view the image of the land warrant, showing it being assigned to John Newton. I added this newly found information to my table. So far, the details from the biography written by Shadrach's granddaughter have been confirmed. Next, I clicked on the pension record link from the Family Search Wiki. It was a gold mine, no pun intended, of information about Shadrach and his life after his service in the battalion. Once again, I was able to confirm his military service details. I found more details from Shadrach himself about his travels during his service. He described leaving Council Bluffs for Fort Leavenworth, then traveling to Santa Fe, on to San Diego, the St. Louis mission, and finally to Los Angeles. This confirmed that he was not part of the detachments and that he did indeed make it all the way to California. The pension record also included a detailed list of all of the places and dates where Shadrach was mustered in. I added this information to my table, and it's clear that so far the biography and family story are confirmed. Next, I wanted to verify the details about the gold Shadrach discovered and whether he truly was the first person to pay tithing with gold dust. I visited the Church History Library's website and was thrilled to see that the tithing books from this era are digitized and indexed. I carefully reviewed all the tithing books from this time frame, and sure enough, I found Shadrach Holdaway, confirming that he paid tithing with gold dust on October 6, 1848. I went through the tithing book page by page to see if any other members had paid tithing in gold dust before Shadrach. While I did find other members who paid with gold dust, none of them paid before Shadrach. This gives me greater confidence that the family story is accurate. However, I recognize that these may not be the only tithing books in existence, so additional research would be needed to confirm this definitely. But for now, though, I am satisfied with claiming this family story as factual. In today's class, we explored the history and background of the Mormon Battalion and the significant impact they had on the Southwest. We discussed the various records created as a result of their journey and how to locate these records. To bring it all together, we demonstrated the value of these records through a detailed case study. Now we will take some time for questions.
Wow, that was a fantastic presentation, Janalee. I learned so many new things. We do have a few questions. Wesso says, I have only the last name of an ancestor who might have been a Mormon pioneer. How do I proceed to discover the truth of that?
With just the last name, without any dates or places or locations, it might be a little hard. So you might want to do a little bit more research in ancestors that are closer to you. So some of that ancestor's children or whatever information you may already have. But if you do acquire any dates or places, then I would begin by looking at if he's a Mormon pioneer, I would begin by going to the church history website that I demonstrated. That's the biographical database. That database also shows you pioneers as well as Mormon battalions. So they've done some extensive research with original sources for pioneers, for missionaries, and for battalion members.
Thank you. So Plaid has a question about someone who served in the Spanish-American War and whether this type of methodology would work for finding out more information about him.
Yes, it absolutely would. We have some extensive information on the Family Search Wiki, thanks to our amazing team there. I would start there. There are some links. You can go directly to individual wars, and you can find links that will take you directly to their service records, their pension records, their land records. If this was the Spanish War issued land, I believe so, Julia. Do you remember that? I don't remember, but either way, you will find links to service records and military records through the Family Search Wiki. So I would use these same strategies.
Wonderful. There is a page on the wiki called United States Military Online Genealogy Records, and it has links to indexes for each of the conflicts. And so you could go to the index for military service from 1865 to I don't remember what year it goes to, but that will give you the index of people that served.
Yes.
Someone asked if you can access the wiki from a cell phone. This was Cat 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, you sure can. It's on the internet, so you can even Google it if you would like. If it's tricky to get to through the Family Search website from your phone, you can just Google the Family Search Wiki and the topic that you're interested in.
Fantastic. Yeah. If you have the app, the Family Tree app, you can't access it through that I know of. But if you just go to the website, you can.
Yes.
All right. Are there any other questions that people have for Janalee before we wrap up? We have some great comments in the chat, lots of great info, learned so many new things.
Wonderful.
History lessons. So thank you so much, Janalee.
You're welcome.
Let's go ahead and wrap up. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. Just a few reminders. We ask you to please take this survey and give us feedback on the class. The link will be posted in the chat. And if you would like to rewatch this presentation, you'll be able to view it on the Family Search Library's Facebook page and the Family Search YouTube channel and the Family Search X page. The recording will be available as soon as the class ends. However, it will only be available for a limited time. If you need help with a specific research problem, please sign up for a virtual consultation with one of the library's research specialists. We would love to help you. This was the final class taught by the United States and Canada team for 2024. For updates on future webinars in 2025, go to familysearch.org/library/webinars. We will return in January for more classes. Have a fantastic day, and we will see you in 2025.
Thank you.